Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live far away from everything? Away from the city? Without the internet? Without noise and without neighbors nearby? Just you, your family, the animals, and the serene silence of the mountains. In the heart of Iran, there are still people who live this way. They are nomads, men and women, who follow in the footsteps of their ancestors, moving with the seasons, sleeping in tents, and relying on livestock and what nature provides. While the world speeds up, they maintain their own pace, distanced from modernity, but deeply connected to the land, traditions, and freedom. In this video you will get a glimpse into this simple, yet tough and fascinating way of life, a reality that remains hidden from many. Stay with us, because what's coming next is unlike anything you've seen before. Iran is a vast country, filled with contrasts, but among its mountains, deserts, and plains, there are people who live in a way that is very different from the majority. They are the nomads, who, unlike urban life, follow a constant rhythm of movement, migrating with the seasons. Among the most well-known are the Kasai, the Bachirai, and the Asaban, groups with historical roots that date back centuries. These nomadic peoples have their own languages, traditions, and lifestyles, but they all share a common trait: a reliance on livestock and a deep connection to the earth. Although the number of nomads in Iran has decreased over the years, there are still hundreds of thousands who uphold this way of life, defying the advance of modernity. They primarily inhabit the mountainous regions of the country, in the southern and western areas, where the challenging terrain and harsh climate make sedentary life less feasible. Nomadic life in Iran is a blend of resilience and preservation. While many around the world follow a routine of haste and consumption, Iranian nomads adhere to ancient wisdom, where every step they take, and every flock they tend, is part of a natural cycle that has been repeated for generations. The life of nomads in Iran is simple yet filled with hard work and dedication. The day begins early, just as the sun rises, with the first task being to care for the herds. Goats, sheep, and cows are essential for survival, providing milk, meat, and products like cheese and yogurt. Without them, life would be impossible. Tasks are well distributed among community members. Men typically handle the livestock, ensuring that the goats and sheep graze in safe areas and head to the next destination. Women, on the other hand, are responsible for milking the animals, preparing food, and doing household chores like sewing clothes and mending tents. Children are taught from a young age to help care for the animals and assist with daily tasks, preparing them to continue this life. Setting up and taking down the tents, known as yurts, is a daily routine. They must be assembled quickly upon arriving at a new location, and dismantled just as swiftly when it's time to leave. Additionally, constant contact with nature is part of everyday life, gathering firewood, foraging for food, and even fishing when possible. Although they are self-sufficient, nomads trade goods with other communities, strengthening social ties and ensuring access to essential resources. Are you enjoying discovering what life is like for nomads in Iran? Each step of this journey through mountains, deserts, and ancient traditions shows us how simplicity and resilience are woven into the daily lives of these families, and there's much more to come. So, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, would you be able to live this way, moving with the rhythms of nature and keeping traditions alive? Stay with us, because there's still so much more about nomadic life, and everything that makes this journey unique. Movement is one of the most defining characteristics of nomadic life in Iran. With the changing seasons, families move from one place to another, following the natural cycle and seeking better conditions for their herd. This seasonal movement is called transhumance and is essential for the survival of the nomads. In winter, nomads settle in lower, sheltered areas where the climate is milder and grass is more abundant. When summer heat arrives, they begin their journey to the mountains, where the altitude and cooler climate provide better conditions for the animals. This journey can last weeks, and each trip is a true test of endurance and organization. The movement is not just physical, it requires the active participation of the entire community. The animals, especially the goats and sheep, must be carefully guided to avoid getting lost or injured along the way. Additionally, tents, utensils and food must be transported efficiently, often with the help of mules or camels. The path is tough, and nomads face constant challenges, such as difficult terrain, extreme temperatures, and even water shortages in some areas. However, this lifestyle also offers a unique freedom, as they are always on the move, connected to the land and their traditions. The culture of Iranian nomads is rich in traditions that have been passed down through generations. Despite living far from major cities, these communities maintain a deep bond with their roots, beliefs, and ancestral practices. One of the most important expressions of this culture is the art of carpet weaving. Nomads are true masters of rug making, a tradition that dates back centuries. Each carpet tells a story, often related to family, nature, or events that have marked the life of the community. Moreover, it is primarily women who take on this task, using techniques that vary from tribe to tribe, but always carry a profound meaning. Music and dance also play a fundamental role in festivities and celebrations. Traditional instruments like the sedar, a type of lute, and the diaph, a type of drum, are used to create melodies that speak of love, struggle and connection with nature. Dances, often in a circle, are a way to celebrate life in community and strengthen social bonds. Additionally, nomads have rituals and festivals that mark the cycles of life, such as birth, marriage and death. These occasions are celebrated with large gatherings where food, music and dance are essential elements of the event. Living as a nomad in Iran means keeping these traditions alive, while also adapting to the changes imposed by the modern world. The connection to the land, to animals, and to family is at the heart of life for these communities, making each day a celebration of their heritage and identity. The life of Iranian nomads is marked by a voluntary isolation, a choice that remains steadfast, despite the pressures of the modern world. While many populations around the globe seek the comforts of urban life, nomads choose to continue their ancestral way of life, away from cities and the conveniences of technology. This isolation, however, is not a form of abandonment, but a form of resistance. They resist the temptation to settle down, to follow the norms imposed by modern society. For them, living outside urban centers is an act of freedom, a preservation of their traditions, and a direct connection to nature. Life without electricity, without the internet, and without constant access to hospitals or schools, may seem difficult for many, but for nomads, it is simply the way they have always lived. They find joy in simple things, the company of family, the care of animals, and the beauty of the natural world. However, this choice also comes with challenges. Living conditions can be harsh, access to medical care is limited, and formal education is often out of reach for children. Additionally, the Iranian government has encouraged nomads to settle down, offering support for them to abandon their nomadic lifestyle. But despite this, many resist, believing that life in motion is the only authentic way to live in harmony with their roots. This resistance, both to modernization and external pressure, keeps alive a culture that, although remote, is strong and full of identity. For nomads, isolation is not synonymous with loneliness, but with belonging to something greater, something that transcends the material world, the preservation of a unique way of life. Goat herding is the cornerstone of nomadic life in Iran. These animals are not only companions on the journey, but also the primary source of sustenance for nomadic families. Goat milk is consumed fresh or transformed into cheese and yogurt, which are essential foods and an important source of nutrients for the community. Additionally, their skins are used to make clothing, and their meat, when necessary, feeds families during times of scarcity. Caring for goats is a constant task. Nomads know each of their animals, understand which ones are more productive, which are sick, and even how each one behaves. The relationship between nomads and their goats goes beyond simple care. There is a true bond of trust where both depend on each other for survival. During migrations, the goats travel with the group, navigating the challenging paths of mountains and deserts. Families use mules or camels to transport the more fragile animals and essential goods. This movement is done with great care. As for nomads, losing a herd means losing the very foundation of their existence. Goat herding is not just a matter of survival, it is also a reflection of nomadic wisdom that has learned to live in harmony with the land and its animals. Every step of the way, goats play a fundamental role, supporting families and keeping alive the tradition of this ancestral way of life. The life of Iranian nomads offers valuable lessons for all of us, especially in a world that is becoming increasingly fast-paced and consumer-driven. One of the first things we can learn is simplicity. In a time when we seek to accumulate material goods, nomads teach us to live with the essentials, valuing freedom and connection to nature. They may not have the luxuries of urban life, but they possess something that many have lost, a peace that comes from simplicity. Moreover, the resilience of nomads is impressive. They face difficult terrains, extreme temperatures and daily hardships, yet they move forward with courage and determination. Instead of settling into adversity, they adapt to each new situation. Their resilience is not only physical, but also mental, as they preserve their traditions, beliefs and way of life, even in the face of external pressures. Another important lesson is the value of family and community time. Nomadic life is a constant exchange and collaboration among community members. They know that survival depends on unity, teamwork and mutual trust. This is something that is often lost in modern societies, where individuality often prevails. Finally, nomads show us respect for nature. By living in constant motion, they learn to sustainably manage natural resources, caring for the land and the animals that sustain them. At a time when environmental preservation is crucial, this direct connection to nature is something we can and should reflect upon. Nomadic life in Iran, while rich in history and tradition, is gradually disappearing. The modern world, with its conveniences and technological advances, has pressured nomads to abandon their ancestral way of life. The Iranian government has incentivized the sedentarization of nomadic populations, offering incentives for them to settle in villages and cities where access to education, health and infrastructure is greater. This movement towards sedentarization has created significant challenges. Many young nomads, attracted by the promises of urban life, leave their villages to seek work in cities, causing traditional knowledge to fade over time. Older generations try to keep the culture alive, but adapting to new conditions is difficult. Additionally, climate change and environmental degradation also affect seasonal migration. Deforestation, water scarcity, and extreme weather conditions make life for nomads increasingly challenging, making their migrations more difficult. However, many still resist this transformation. Despite the difficulties, they continue to preserve their traditions, their stories and their way of life. The question that remains is, how long can this nomadic way of life survive in an increasingly globalized and modern world? And what do you think about nomadic life in Iran? Amid vast deserts, imposing mountains and a routine that seems to be in total harmony with nature, the life of nomads may be simple, but it is full of meaning, from the daily care of herds to the traditions that span generations. Now tell us, can you imagine living this way, in constant motion, far from the comforts of the city, yet immersed in a life so connected to the earth? Or do you think that freedom is only for a unique experience, and not for everyday life? Leave your comment down below. We love to hear what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Many more fascinating stories of unique cultures and ways of life are coming your way. See you in the next video. Goodbye.